Hi everyone and welcome back to Rachel's Enchanting Cakes. For today's tutorial I'm going to be showing you how to create this beautiful, elegant V-Petal Ruffle effect flawlessly on an even-sized cake. As always, everything you need to know in a simple step-by-step format. I have chosen to decorate mine on a Christmas theme, but as you can see from the pattern, this would be perfect for so many different celebration cakes and wedding cakes. Let's make a start. I am using the V-Petal Ruffle mold by Marvelous Molds. These are designed to fit even-sized cakes flawlessly. When I say an even-sized cake, we are talking a 4-inch, 6-inch, 8-inch, 12-inch, etc. You want to start by dusting your mould with a small amount of icing sugar. I simply dust this over the top and then simply tap it out so there's not too much inside the actual mould. Using a colour of your choice and some spacers, these are 5mm thick, I simply roll out my fondant. I then cut off any excess just so the piece isn't too big. To make this really easy so we don't accidentally use too much fondant, take your Simpress mould and just gently push this down on the top. This will leave some indentations. Cut away the excess. Now pick up the fondant that you have just cut out and place this into your mould. Use your fingers to push this down and make sure you pick up on all of those details. I also use some of the excess fondant that I have cut away just to add on top. Remember what I've just said, there's a lot of detail in this mould and you need to make sure that you pick all of it up. I then go over this with a rolling pin. This will just add the final finish just to make sure I've picked up all of those details. You want to turn the mould upside down and roll it on its back and also do it the other way around. A little tip for you. I then place this in the fridge. If you're in a real hurry, you can add it to the freezer, but it just means when you release this from the mould, it will not lose any of its shape. Working with cold fondant is the best way to get this out of the mould and keep those perfect ruffles in place. I'm now going to release this directly onto some baking paper so you can see just how easy it actually is. A very simple tip, but I love to work with my moulds in this way. Look at that. It all stays together. Your fondant will sweat eventually, but just get it on the cake fast enough and you'll have no problems. For tutorial purposes, I'm covering a 6-inch round, 8-inch deep cake dummy. But obviously this principle would apply to a normal cake just covered in buttercream. It's a little bit more difficult for me because there's only water on this polystyrene. If you was adding this to a buttercreamed cake, you would have no problems whatsoever. You simply want to start by adding the first piece, and as you can see, it's not losing its shape because that fondant is lovely and cold. It's not had the chance to sweat yet, so you do have a window when you have to get this on before it does. I then add the second piece, which will slot directly into the first piece. As you can see, I'm carefully pinching it there where the hearts are. Finally, the third piece. I wanted you to see this. So this is a 6-inch round cake, and you will see here, if my head can get out of the way, just how flawlessly all sides meet. I also wanted to show you that with this particular Simpress, it does not matter how tall your cake is. So I then repeated the process with the mould and simply placed this directly on top of the piece underneath, making sure it was all lined up. Again, it's a bit more difficult for me just down to the fact that I'm using a cake dummy and don't have a cake covered in lovely buttercream. I'm going to show you the finished result, but it does not matter how high your cake is, it will meet flawlessly and the pattern is just beautiful. And this is my finished result. Now, as you can see, this could easily be used as a wedding cake or any type of celebration cake. I'm just going to now show you how I added the top part to make it a bit more Christmassy and the snowflakes. So for the top, all I did was roll out some white fondant, and because I don't have a splatter cutter, or you may only have a splatter cutter in a smaller size, if you just tug at the ends by using a high quality fondant, it creates a lovely icicle effect. Simply glue this directly on top of your cake. Now for those detailed snowflakes, I use this Katie Sue mould and I place it directly into the fridge again. So it's just been dusted down like the Marvellous molds, and then I'm using a high quality fondant and simply pushing it into those very detailed snowflake designs. Now these are a little bit more fiddly to get out of the mould, so I use a Dresden tool, but as you can see, look how lovely and firm the fondant actually is, and they are so beautiful and detailed. Stick these on with some edible glue. And it really was as simple and as easy as that, even though it's so beautiful and effective. Now finally, just for the finishing touch, if this was a real cake, you would first of all need to add some cake dowels. But I use one of my decorated Terry's chocolate oranges as a cake topper. Frosty the Snowman that we have here, covered in cocoa butter that gives him that lovely frosted effect, is available as a completely free tutorial on my channel. Happy baking, everyone. I really do hope I've helped you again today, and I'll be back soon with more new, completely free content.